Hello again, everybody. Harry Box with the Technical Trader at techtrader.com on Saturday morning, the 26th of November. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's been an eventful time for the markets, that's for sure. The rally back we had off the low was quite impressive from the beginning, meaning that big reversal bar, which is similar to what we had here and there, led to nice rallies. But this was at the beginning of the big down move. This is after a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline. So that's why I put more credence in this one. And of course, we did get the rally. I was anticipating that very few people in this room were anticipating. You can see the moving averages have crossed over. The channel is up, but the longer term channel is right there. Looking at 4,100, give or take 10 points. But if we can get it up there, we may get a pullback. We may not. If we blow through it, we could be up to 42, 4,300 range. But at some point, they're going to pull back and retest. The question is it going to rally to, for the month of December? Or we're going to get a little bit of a pop first, then a pullback, and then maybe for a couple of weeks, and then maybe an end of year rally. I'm not going to anticipate anything. I do what the market tells me to do. Right now, the market tells me after a 5-day decline, we're in an uptrend, but we're not in a major one until the downtrend channel gets broken. That's where we stand. NASDAQ 100, similar, much weaker rally. As you can see, the bounce off the low is a V bottom with a right-handed extension and a pop to a new high, but it got to resistance and backed off. The angle's weak. It looks like a rising wedge. I'm not saying the market has to go lower, but at some point, it wouldn't shock me if we did make a lower low and plunge down to 90, 91, 9200. Still a possibility if they take the lows out, or a retest could take place. We're just going to have to see what the market wants to do. In any case, there's a possibility of a follow through to 12,480, 12,500 range before we get to the declining top line, which is ever so important if you want to turn the tide. Right now, we've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline and a retest of the low, and then a bounce, now a little wedgy and a pop on Thursday. Real quiet inside the Friday. The market didn't do much on a holiday day. You can see the crossover of 3 moving averages. That's the 10, 21, and 50-day moving averages, and it's above it now. At this point, I do not want this market on the NASDAQ 100 to go below 11.5. That's my number. That's my line in the sand. Above 12, we got a good shot at 12.4. That's where I'm standing right now with those two indices. The small cap stocks, IWM, got right up to that declining top line, the way I've drawn it. Backed off, and it seems like it's coming on again. There's a wide double, triple bottom, months apart, which is also very bullish for me. Once you break through the moving averages and they cross over, the trend is underway. How far it goes, that's another story. What about the transportations? Well, they had a really nice move also to the top of the declining channel. And technically, the pullback and snapback, now I have to keep my stops right there. In my opinion, the low for the week ago, 13,865 is where I draw my line in the sand. Below that, we have a much deeper retracement store. Let's take a look at some of the ETFs I follow and then some of the components as well. We'll start off with the components. Apple, of course, in a wedge pattern and near the bottom of it. So any breakdown in Apple here will probably retest at least that level. And that's a big number for me. If you take out 144.35, I think Apple can come down to 135.37. So I'm looking for the double bottom, breakout and wedge, and a turnaround or crossover on moving averages to result in a breakout and a run up to resistance and a target of 157.5 and 164.5 3/4. Those are my targets. Any move under 144, 144.35, I think would spell disaster for the market, or at least short-term plunge back down to lower levels. Amazon, not even as strong. It came down in multiple waves. Let's call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's breakaway gap reversal. I run up to first resistance, then a pullback retest, kind of a V bottom, a right-handed extension. But you don't want this below 90, 90.5. That's where you stop Amazon. If it gets below that, you're going to see back in the mid-80s, if not worse. Google, a little better. It's a nice V bottom, pop to resistance, pullback flag, and then a pop back up to resistance. What you want to see is a move through 100.5 and the test of this key level, 105. Once you get to that, you're looking at 108 and then above that. For now, the measured move on Google alone calls for a move, let's see, of about 17 points from here. That gives you about 111 in that range, in that zone up there. Right about there. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline followed by a big reversal and big heavy volume and a sell off on Google, and then a reversal. The volume wasn't as big on a reversal as I'd like to have seen, but any V bottom right hand extension, if it holds, should result in higher levels. Even if it gets up to 1,045 range, then it's going to have to come back down and fortify the right side or of an inverse head and shoulders potentially. We'll see. Netflix. Didn't have a great week. It pulled down and backed up, and it's just sitting there. But now I'm thinking it's one of the better uptrends we're seeing. And the NASDAQ 100 generals in that list, if you can hold here, your next target is about 328. Meta did a reversal. That's the best one I've seen in a year. But still, you know, since here, still we need, even though it was a big volume down move, the move up on less than a bigger volume, got up to 119.20 zone. That's resistance now. Then 124 and the gap fill at 129 are your targets on Facebook going forward. There and there. We'll see what that results in. But right now, it looks like a bull flag. NVDA, one of the strongest stocks in NASDAQ Jones. Look at that move. From a reversal low at 108 to a 2-week high 2 weeks ago, 1 year 170. 62-point move is very, very big for that stock, even NVIDIA. Look at the breakthrough of the declining top line and then pull back to test it again, and now up again. So naturally, your target has to be 189.90, maybe as high as 199.200. That's looking much better. What about Tesla? Not so good, but the last couple of days were better. Looks like a reversal off the low. Multiple waves down. It's just a small one. It looks like a, if you count this, it's probably a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm not going to say that Tesla is going anywhere until it gets over 202. 201 to be exact, above 201. I think that Tesla is on its way to back into high 230s. But for now, trend is still your friend. The trend is down. It's short term over the last couple months, and on a long term basis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down to the bottom of the channel. Now I don't know if it's going lower or not, but there could be a more substantial rally to mid range. It takes that up around 220, 225. Let's look at some of the NASDAQ generals. Let's look at the major ETFs that I follow closely. The SMH following semiconductors, really nice run, reversal bar, run up, pullback retest. A 1, 2, 3, and 4. A fifth wave could get you to 246, 47. That would be huge for the market. So if you see some of the semiconductors take off, and this in particular pops out here, we're in an extension of the bull phase. If not, any move on SMH under 212 3/4 might indicate we are going much deeper on a retrace for now, but that is not a bad chart at all, at least from the standpoint of a potential bottom. Look at the volume at the low here, one of the biggest volumes we've seen. Good sign that a low is in. What about financials? The FAS, which we track, is almost up to the double top we saw in June, September. There's your line. If you get through 93, you got a much bigger rally going. But if you fail in this zone and then take out 78, that's the number I have in mind, 78, we could see it retest into the 70 and even 66 zone. So keep an eye on that one. It does have a little inverse head and shoulders here. And beautiful bottom with big volume, which led to this. In my mind, that is probably the angle of ascent that it's going to take. And it looks like that. So even any retest or consolidation in that zone could lead to an explosive move, which number one tests and takes out 94 and runs up to about 101. Biotechs, well, not as strong, but they held up better, meaning they didn't rally as well, but they also didn't go down and make lower lows like the others did. I have a problem with this until I see this get over 86.5. Then you look at it 90, 95 or more. You can see the long-term channel, and it's really long-term. We saw this be a disaster. It's now looking like this, something like that. So I'm going to need a move above 86.5, like I said, to convince me that the biotechs have turned the corner and are contributing to any bull rally we see. When you look at the angle of ascent here, you'll see that any move underneath 76.7 would be very negative for biotechs in general. And looking at the LABU, which is the other biotech ETF I follow, similar, but obviously this one needs to get over 8, 40, 45. Then your targets are 10 and 12 3/4, 13. with key quadruple bottom support at 6. Anything under 6, you better be careful. People go all the way back to 4. I don't think that's going to happen, but I really like the way the biotechs held up in a 2-month period when the market kept dropping, and when you saw the FAS come down and the SMH as well. So relative strength is in the biotechs despite the current lack of relative strength. If you look at intermediate relative strength, is biotech. If you look at short-term relative strength, it's not. It's a laggard. So there's a dichotomy there. Well, underlying technicals show that the oscillators are a little on the plus side, plus 71, not overbought. It's kind of neutral. We can get up to 220, 250 before we get into a more overbought condition. The percentage of stocks above their 40 is now 3/4 of all stocks are above their 40, which is bullish but overbought. Can it stay overbought for a while? It can, but you got to be careful. Assuming this drops under 70%, you may start to see it fall back deeper than that. And the VIX, which has been a dichotomy all year, you don't see, this never got really to a point where I thought it was extreme, the 40s and 50s, but now it's back down to 2050. The last 2 lows were in the 18, 19 zone, so we're close. And we've seen lows down as low as 14 and even single digits back here. But in the last couple of years, you've seen that volatility index be much narrower in a range between 13, 14 on the low side, 37 to 39 on the long side. Right now, closer to the bottom. Look at the big boys. We did look at that, I'm sorry. I want to get to some stocks now because we have plenty to talk about, but before we do, the ETFs for gold and silver and nat gas, etc. Well, what I like about what I'm seeing with the gold is that a basis formed, a breakout, a flag, and a pop. Now, we haven't really followed through yet. Friday wasn't a good day for gold, but if you see the GDX over 29, I think you're headed towards 33, 33 and a half. That's GDX. The nugget, which I like to trade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down with a fifth of a fifth right there. And then 2 tests, a breakout, a test of the breakout point and the moving averages, and a run right up to resistance. So watch this one. If nugget gets over 30, 4.5, 3/4, you might see 40 and then 45, 48. So I'm looking at some individual stuff as well. That's gold and silver looking better as well. The AGQ, similar pattern, not quite the breakout pullback. So I'm not as keen on silver right now, but gold looks pretty good. If you're looking at nat gas, oil, well, we knew that it was going to extend the move and test this level in here near 59.5, which it did. Unfortunately, the negative day on Friday, very negative. It brought it down about almost 11% on Friday alone. So this is the big number, 59.5 for oil. On the other side is KOLD, which broke down and snapped back, but looks like a falling channel there with a 1, 2, 3. If wave 4 is on the way or developing, there may be a 5th wave that brings it down to the 910 zone at some point. And that's gold, silver, natural gas. Let's go look at oil and then we'll move on. USO, it's looking dangerous. This is a bearish engulfing bar on Friday after popping back to resistance and kissing back. It might be rolling over, so be careful. I think, despite what everybody says, I just feel like oil wants to go lower, maybe not 59.60. The U and the GUSH, for example, looks a little bit different because, of course, it's a double, sorry. But the pattern looks better unless and if it takes out 167. The target's 205, 230, and 255. But below this level, below 167, see ya. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to show you. Let's go over some stocks on the long side that I think are looking quite intriguing here. I'll start off with ABCL, which is a stock I gave you as a swing back in June. It was trading at 9 and change. It ran up to mid-teens, my target. Pulled back from the little inverse head and shoulder, broke out again from the flag, popped to a nominal new high for the year, and then pulled back down. But net still looking good to me. Targeting 17 and 20. EEHR swing is doing great, continuing to look good. Up 4 days in a row. Moving back off support, right up to resistance. Get to this level, 30. and 35 would be mid-range channel would be targets. In the gold sector, AEM, Agnico Eagle, is an example of a gold stock, not an ETF that is broken out of a base, retested, is moving up now. If you're interested in this one, I have a target of 55.6 for starters. AGQ in the silver sector we showed you, target is 30. AMD, nice recovery off the fifth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the way I look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the way I look at it. Move off the low, coming from 54.5, spiking up to 79, and then 25 points. And then a pullback, tested and bounced again. Your real resistance is 83.5. We'll see what it does if it gets up near there. AMLX has been a powerhouse move since May, from 6 to 40 nearly. Friday's high was 39.08. It pulled back down, and your support 100% has to be stopped under 32.5. But the extension target for me, at least 44. APA in the oil sector, keep your stops under 43. We don't want to see that. Above 50, the stock could be mid to high 50s. Apps, put a swing on it when it popped and broke out, and then it retested. It's bounced for 3 days in a row, low volume. That concerns me. But my target's now at 20.5 and 25. ARRY in the solar sector, beautiful inverse head and shoulders breakaway move. That was a tech trader swing that worked. And then came down, now it's back up again. Next target is 27.5 and 32. AU, another gold stock, popped and broke out and pulled back. If it does break through here, the next target is 21.75, 22. AVDL, beautiful 5-way move up and then a pullback, and now it's right back up again near its high and near resistance. Should it get up through the 865.70 range, the target's 11.5. AXSM swing trade there. Came down and tested after breaking, tagging above targets. And now the pop and pullback. Falling wedge broke out, but it's got to get above 60 to get going again. If so, target 65 and 72. Bluebird Bio broke out, put a swing on it, ran up, pulled back again, ran up again, ran up again. It's got a long multi-month ascending bull coil. It breaks out. I got a target at about 9.5 and then 12. BTU, obviously a big run last year. Then this year consolidating for months, forming a little base or a rounding base. With this breakout, this can be in the low to mid 40s easy. This is a powerhouse type potential. CAAS, that's China Automotive. Long, narrow base, exploded, coiled for 2 months, exploded again. Now it's against resistance here. But your next target, if it does run, is 8 3/4. CABA, long downtrend, new uptrend. Does have a mini 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now this. I don't know if it's going to pull back or break out and run, but the target now is 7.5 3/4, a double. CECO, nice base breakout, inverse head and shoulders, right hand extended B, breakout there, breakout here, and finally a coil sits it, breaks out, runs up, test, test, test. Let it get up through that level, about 12, 50, 60. Because he's something in the 15 range. CGC, I still think this is a long-term bottoming pattern being put into place. Pull back a little bit, muted on lower volume, but I really need this to get going. Once it gets above 4.5 3/4, you're looking at 5 3/4 and 6 3/4. CLFD, which was a swing back here in these high 60s, made it to 130, pulled back down, reversed sharply in the last 2 weeks, right back from 83.5 to 130. How about that? Target 145.50. COUP, big reversal may have taken place Thursday and broke through triple top. Friday was a follow-through day. That's why I'm highlighting it. The target 72 and 80. CPNG broke out there. We put a swing on it, then flagged and popped and reached my target. Retested it. You can see it's forming a rounding bottom or a consolidation zone that could set up a move to 26. My next target. CPRX, one of the few really strong biotechs. Look at this stock. It's got from 3-4 range a year ago all the way into the high teens. Spike high in September, reached 1722. This week's high, 1776, a new high. I think it can make it to 20 and 23. DAIO broke out, flagged, popped again. Next target 5 and 5 3/4. DXCM, breakout, retest, explosive move with a breakaway gap and a nice coils for me. Looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, a fifth wave may take you to 135. EDAP, nice biotech stock, medical device stock that popped, wedged, broke out, wedged again, and popping again. 11.5, 12.5 targets. EGO, another junior gold that looks like it's very promising, had a big breakout day, and it's consolidated. Target 8.5 and 10. ELF doesn't get much stronger than this, from 20 to 56, just since May. B bottom, right hand extension, breakout of an inverse head and shoulders, flag, run up, rising flag, retest, breakout, sharp move up, fabulous chart. Target 65. EPOW, up almost every day in the last 2 weeks, but just slightly. A move across the 4.5 area is what I'm looking for, and a run to 6. EXTR, fabulous, really good looking chart. How about the little double bottom June and July around 8.5 and boom, 20. Really nice. Target 23.4. FCX, breakaway gap there, deck trader swing, reached to the top of the channel, pull back and flag. Again, popped up, but pulled back on Friday. Still looking for 41 and 44. Monster move on FDMT last week, went into a consolidation zone. Note the volume that pulled way back. A good sign it isn't done yet. Keep an eye on 24, 80, 85, because then you're looking at high 20s, low 30s. Floor, beautiful rising channel over the last year and a half. Currently a nice base pattern, breakout of flag. Looking for 40, 45. FREY broke out of its wedge, pulled back and tested the channel bottom and popped again. Right now, that's the wedge. Break out of this pattern, you should test the double top 16 3/4. And then I'm looking for 19. FRPT, turned the corner, moving averages crossed over. From the flag, popped up, made a new high, took out the triple top resistance and testing this area. I'm up 72, you might see 85. Gilead broke out of a base and went vertical, and it's been a rising channel that says this is going to 90 or better. GRWG, Grow Group, making growing equipment for the marijuana industry, a big explosive move across the moving averages, a pop to resistance, a here, and a flag. If you ask me, if it sets up nicely, 9 and 9 3/4 targets. GUSH, sitting on the platform, we don't want it below 167, but above 208.09, I'm looking at 235 and 260. Hudson, pop, stuck his head out above a triple top, might be on its way. Mid-range target is 14, upper channel 17, 18. HLIT breaks out of a base, does a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave is underway, which could lead to 17.5, even 19. IMCR and the biotech group breakout, retest, run up, double top, break out of that. Looks like it's headed to 88.90. IMRA, also explosive pop with major volume and a coil. Another explosive pop with volume and a run up in wave 4. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4. You get a move through 5 and change. 520 gets you, I think, 6.5 and 9. IMVT, also an inverse head and shoulder breakout with huge volume, a flag, a pop, a rising channel, targeting 16.5. IMBX was a tech trader swing when it broke out. It did a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hit the target, pulled back hard about 50%, and then exploded just as hard and now it's platform. Any move over 34 gets you 42. INMD pulled back in the last week or two. It's on support. I needed to hold 34 3/4 and then take out 39, at which point 44 and 50 become targets. LVTX popped and pulled back. We put a swing on it. It broke. That was stopped. If they're coming down to test the breakout point, it moved right back up and made a new high. Now looking for 6 3/4 and 8.5. MGNI, long downtrend, followed by an explosive breakaway gap and run up to resistance at a secondary resistance, and now the pullback. Keep an eye on it for a pop. Should it pop? 11 3/4 and 13 are targets. MGNX tech trader swing, pop broke out, ran up to the target number 1 and pulled back dramatically. The angles changed a little bit. Looks like this now. We'll see if it breaks or not, but the stop is right there on the 4 3/4. Next target, 7.5 and 10. MRTX, big move at the V bottom and platforming or wedging. It went vertical. It's in a resistance zone going back a year and a half. You get to that, target's 130. So this could be an interesting one. NRGV, energy vault, with a breakout on Friday, it looks like. If it does extend, 6 3/4 is your next target. Nutanix tech trader swing from September when it popped as a wedge for a few days, like 20 3/4. Made it up to 29.42. And it's consolidating nicely for a move to 33. In the gold sector, we talked about Nugget. It looks good for a move to 39 and 45. OIIM after a big move down. Triple bottom base breakout. And look at this flag. Broke out of the flag, but couldn't get the resistance. So watch this one. A move over 450 with volume should get you 5 and 6. OM, pop flag and tried to pop again inside day Friday, but it looks like it's going to tackle and take out 121 3/4, reach my 27 target. Accidental long-term chart impeccable. And I moved through the triple top, target's 85.6. PACB went up to my target and backed off. Still looks fine. It's been quiet, somewhat narrow. Looks to me like extension target should get you to 14, 12.5 and 14 targets. Puma, big inverse head and shoulders over the last year. It's a really strong move off this low here from 208, almost 5, 481. Pull back on Thursday, but it held. Has not formed a beautiful, sharply rising angle. Not sure it can be maintained for that long, but check this out. Next target, 5.5 and 6. Biotech DSP breaks out of a breakaway gap above a triple top, pops to the target, pulls back in wedges. Next target, 12 3/4. Perion, been a favorite of mine for a year and a half now. We first gave it to you down here in the 5s. Headed to 33. Backed off for 7 or 8 months. It consolidated and broke out again. Friday was a good day for it. Up about 3.6%, but it broke through a new closing high, the highest level since November of last year. A new 52-week. PI broke out on Thursday, put a swing on it. I believe the stock's got to 150 and 175. Purple broke out of a base and pulled back. It's right on the support level and buying point. Friday it reversed, seemingly testing successfully. We'll see. Targets are 5.5, 6 1/4, 7.5. URVB broke out, formed a beautiful wedge, popped and retested, popped again and retested, and then reversed hard. Looks to me like a stock is headed to test 11. QURE breaks out of a coil, flags, and then pops and goes vertical. My target now 31. RELL, beautiful long-term chart. Broke out of a flag and popped to the top of the channel, maybe extended. Be careful, but momentum could take it to the low 30s. RPAY exploded off its low with a big volume breakaway gap. Went through 3 moving averages. Moving averages have crossed over. It's now flagging. Looks like a move. 9, 10, 11 maybe had. RVPH, pop, falling wedge, and then another pop and a falling wedge here. Target 8 3/4, 9. Rhythm, one of our best swings of the year. Broke out with volume and just went vertical. A little bit of a wedge and then ran. 4 months going sideways, consolidated. Maybe that's a setup. If so, 33.4, 40.42 are targets. With oil moving lower, the SCO is looking more promising. If it gets through, and this is a big if, 28, I'm looking at 31.2. Seed pulled back somewhat this week. I'm waiting for a price volume surge. It's testing its trend line as well, the way I've redrawn it. My target remains 14, 15, and then 18. Silk breaks out. Silk Road, after forming a nice little wedge, and it's consolidating with really good volume. It looks like it wants to try going into the high 50s, mid 60s. Sky T broke out. We put a swing on it. It backed right off to resistance and filled the gap. It's consolidated. Easy stop under 8 3/4. Retesting 11 and 12 of my targets. Technoglass, a nice breakout through a double top and then a pullback consolidation. Next stop being moved to test 34. UCL has gone vertical, literally, keeps its angle up. It may see 4 1/4, 5. It's hard to say whether that occurs. Your stop's under 280, 80.85. Vector, effective bio, long base, breakout, and a bull wedge. Get through the double top, your target's 11. Vista, oil and gas, beautiful chart. Although it's at the top of the channel, it may need to back off. You know how I feel about oils, be careful with that one, but momentum could carry to 1670. Verna, big breakaway move. Nice little three-way corrective. A V bottom with a platform and a breakout and a flag. Feels like this really wants to run. Our targets are 14.5 and 17. Zixi, as you know, made a nice move in the last 3-4 weeks, taking it from 8.5 3/4 to 14.5. A 6-point move near the top of the channel, lateral resistance. Should we get through here, it could really, really move. Let's look at the longs. There are a few shorts to cover, and then we'll finish up. I'm not keen on being short here, but the charts that don't look great, ALGN's been in a downtrend for a long time, although it tried to reverse it, pulled right back down. Should it get below last week's low, I'd be looking for lower levels. I'm talking down in 150 range. That's 45 points. AVNT, same thing, a long drop, a rising wedge, a pop, and another pop. If it gets underneath 31.5, then I would go short for 27.5 and 25. AYX continues to look weak with a strong rally back, but in the market, this really didn't improve much. Right back near the lows, your target's 36.7 if it collapse. BILL at Bill.com, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave down is truncated or shortened, but it has 5 waves and then it pops. So if it should roll over and take that out underneath 108, I short it for 98 and 88. Cardano, CARDX. Big drop. We first noticed it when it dropped down and formed a wedge. It's been down ever since. It's dropped from about 48.9 down to low teens. Where's the bottom of this one? Looks like a bottomless pit, but my next target is 10.11. Carvana, a disaster. And he moved below the double bottom, and you're looking at a $4 or $5 stock. Amazing. ESTC, big downtrend followed by a bounce. I'll be short cover over 69, but a move under 55, and the stock's running below 50. FIVN looks like it's trying to bottom in this area. Your cover would be anything over 65.6. Again, though, a pullback low to take out last week's low at 56 could lead to 51 and even 46.7. GRMN, Garmin's been in a downtrend since it peaked August of 21. You can see that the recurrent rally ran right back to the declining top line. Now it's backing off again. Be careful. If it rolls, you're looking at low 80s, mid 70s. MDB, head and shoulder top breakdown retest, another sharp retest, but then a collapse. Declining top line challenge, and then another collapse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my take. And that's why I'm not shorting a stock like that, because it has such a big drop from 580 down to 140. Could it go lower? Of course. NET, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave truncated, but it made a lower low. Tried to rally and pull back. Tough call. I would be careful with this one. Overstock still looks like crap. If Bitcoin stuff continues, you might see this at 20. Robert Half tried to rally last week, backed off the declining top line on Friday. So if it gets above Friday's high, we'll cover over 81. Your target on the downside is 74 and 71, possibly as low as 65. RNG, although it did bounce like many stocks did, going to have to get above 42.5 for me to cover it. Right now, it could be a V bottom with a right-hand extension that might go, but if it rolls, we touch the lows in the high 20s, maybe mid 20s, could be had. Snow, same thing, rally to the declining top line, pull back, try to fill the gap. It's got a hold here. The cover is over 168, the target's 113. SSTK, very similar to all the same stocks, folks. Rally back to the declining top line. Weak rally, lower volume. Unless it gets over 56.7, it could very well retest. TEAM is a disaster. Atlassian has gone from 450 to 115 and barely bouncing. Very weak stock, maybe 92.3 target. Tandem forming a wedge again, or a flag after a big drop, I saw it go 150 down to 34. I don't know where this goes. Only kind I cover is above 43. Below this 37 range, 34 and 31 maybe had. Trex in a disastrous downtrend continues to look ugly, but it's trying to base or consolidate here. We'll have to see what that brings. TTEC, just a horror show, 113 down to 39.40, and it bounced a low volume with lousy technicals. Unless this popped 50, I would think possible retest to 40. Upwork has been down, working its way down with a disastrous decline and barely bouncing. It's near the 52-year, 2-year lows. I don't have a lot of faith in this one. World acceptance broke, and from nasty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, it's closer to the bottom than the top. I cover my shorts. Zoom, wow, look at the way this looks. It just won't do anything. And a poor participant in the rally. Yes, of course, cover over 90, but anything under the triple bottom here, if it should take out 79, 71, we might see mid 60s or less. And finally, Zscaler, nasty downtrend's been enforced. V bottom of the platform maybe, but a break on the 131 gets you back to 115 or worse. And that's a look at the shorts on my boxy shorts list. That's it for this evening and for this weekend. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you Monday. Fasten your seatbelts.